How to grow mushrooms, so let's get into it. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to teach you how to grow some of these jokers. Well, these are portobello mushrooms. Here's some shiitake mushrooms. We'll also show you how to grow some oyster mushrooms as well. But it's really cool. So first they start out in kits like this. This is one that's already been used. This is already given like 4 or 5 flushes. This is just an oyster mushroom. Each one they're different. So that one's an oyster, a regular oyster. Here's a golden oyster. This one looks a little rough. This one's been passed. This one's already done a couple of them. This is a shiitake mushroom. Kind of looks like a mold ball, but this one's basically dead. This one already produced enough, so this one's done. What that block, this one I showed you, produces this. It's really easy to make them. So you see these little tips right here? It takes a while. But if you get all these little tips, you just cut off the back end of it. This is actually the growth of it. Or you can buy some spawn. They sell them on Amazon, Google. They sell them at different places or even Etsy. And you have a kit and it looks like this. So basically all this is wood pellets. So wood pellets that are ground up. And let me show you what some wood pellets look like. Alright, so here's what the wood pellets are. You can get a bag of these at Lowe's. This is like a 35-pound bag, and it literally costs you $8. And they look like this. They're just like little wood pellets. It's pretty cool. And you mix them with water, they get all clumpy and junky, and I'll show it to you. So here are the wood pellets. We're going to put it with some water. And it kind of soaks it up, and usually when you put it with hot water it'll break up in clumps and it gets like shredded just like this. So the reason we use wood pellets is huge. So with mushrooms, sanitary is the game. Bleach wipes and hand sanitizer are your friend in this. So anything that's contaminated, because it is a fungi, if there is another fungi it's going to battle against it. So you can see in this bag I wasn't fully clean with it. I even used a HEPA filter. I don't have an industrial setup. This is just like, hey, do it yourself, DIY at home. You can kind of see how the green mold's getting in, and sometimes they lose out. So this one's probably going to lose out. But I did a couple bags, and this one ended up winning. It turned all white, and it colonized. So this is the enoki mushrooms, and basically they're like little small mushrooms. They're expensive mushrooms. They're really tasty and really flavorful. This was also in an enoki bag. I just did this the other day. You can kind of see it colonizing right there. There's like a little white piece. Can't really see it, but basically it's colonizing as well up there. And eventually, if it does win out, it will turn the whole bag white. Usually the colonization process takes, I don't know, 3 months, 2 months maybe, because I don't have a professional setup. Here's also another colonized block. This is the king oyster mushroom. These are cool. So let me show you the wood pulp. You guys can see how it's soaked up the water and it gets all grainy. So with the hot water it'll get even more grainy. But you basically mix it up in one of these bags. They literally just look like, basically look like this. They have a little filter on them like so. You don't have to get the filter bags. I recommend the filter bag so it can breathe a bit, but you can honestly just use a regular plastic bag. You fill it like like half full, and half full with the wood pulp, and then use like, I don't know, maybe half a cup of steel cut oats or regular oats. That's basically going to be the food for the mushrooms. And also before or when you put this in here, you're going to have to put in boiling water. I mean, I'm talking like 250, 300 degrees. So these are heat-proof bags, so they won't melt on you. So you got to use a heat-proof bag when doing this. Again, sanitization is the game. And patience. So you got to be patient. This isn't a quick process. It takes time. And yeah, that's really it for colonizing or inoculating the mushrooms. And after you get the kit, it's all colonized. Now this is the king. This one is a little different. Basically going to open up the bag just like so. The king is a little different again. You get a sprayer. It's ironic it says mold control, but no, it's just an empty bottle. And you spray it a couple times, get some moisture on it. And these bad boys, they are going to grow. You don't want to overwater it, just enough moisture in there. That way it kind of starts, not colonizing, but starts fruiting. Fruiting is the process when it starts producing mushrooms. We're going to close it just a bit. This is just for the king oyster, and it limits the amount of actual air that's going to get into it and dirty air. So again, the name of the game is sanitization. Once you're colonized, you're solid. So you can touch it a lot, or not a lot, but you can touch it a bit with your finger if you want, but you do have to be careful with it. So now that we got our other one, our enoki mushroom one, this one we're going to do a little different. The other ones we cut off the top like so. So before they were a full kit like this. For the oysters we just cut off the top like that, as you can see, and it just fruited from the top. Pretty cool. That one gave me 7 flushes and gave me a lot of mushrooms, which was really nice. If you guys want to buy one of these kits before you start, you can buy them on like Etsy, Amazon, or eBay. I'll put a link in the description so you guys can find some. But after it's colonized, that's when you can see your results and they fruit. So I just sprayed it. It's going to take a couple days to fruit, maybe even a week, but once it starts fruiting, it'll give me the first flush. Do not throw it out after that first flush. Keep spraying it. It may take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but it'll fruit again. It keeps producing. It'll give you like 4 or 5 flushes. And then if you don't see a flush for like a month and a half, toss it. You can toss it at that point. What else should I tell you guys? Yeah, so the 3 big things are sanitization. At the bottom of the mushroom caps, if your store has it, they'll have this like extension, not extension, but like a butt to it like this. This is where you can get your extra spawn. Just cut it off, put it in a little bag, and then, or substrate, I'm sorry, not spawn, and mix it in the bag that you have with the oatmeal and the wood pellets. So make sure you use hot water for it, and do not mix the spawn when it's hot. So you're going to mix these up, seal it, hold it closed, and let it cool down. It'll take, maybe, be on the safe side, let it cool for about 8 hours, 10 hours. And then after it's cooled down, you'll open up the bag, throw in your substrate, seal it with a vacuum sealer, and basically you'll fold it down like so. And you see how I vacuum sealed it. And then you're going to fold it down, 1, 2. So look, here, down, down, press it down, and you can put the filter up this way. And then you set it to the side and let it colonize over time. The enoki mushrooms are definitely my favorite, so we're going to show you how to do this bag. You can usually do these in bottles, or you can do them in like little mason jars. Oh, and one other thing, not all the mushrooms like sawdust. So there are certain mushrooms that like different substrate. So you need to look into it. Enoki is one of them that loves sawdust, so that's why I use wood pellets. Don't just use anything. You need to research and figure out what it is. So depending on what mushroom you're looking to grow, research what it is. Oh yeah, guys, that smells so good. Wow, that's fresh. You can. It smells just like enoki. So we're gonna get rid of these excess parts right here. But we just cut open the bag. I actually made this and colonized this myself from just enoki bags that I bought from the store, and I literally just cut off the ends of them, and I just ate them, or ate the enoki mushrooms and saved the substrate in a bag, and did exactly what I told you, and it produced this. So what we're going to do, this is the actual colony, the enoki mushroom colony. We're actually going to disturb some of the colony, get it open, allow some oxygen in. Right now it's kind of sealed and nothing's really getting in. You're just going to take a fork and probe at it. You need to be as sanitary as possible, so we're going to take a lighter to this. Just get off some of this bacteria. Don't know what's growing on this joker. Even though it was washed, we can't trust it. Get it nice and heated. Don't want it too hot because it'll actually kill the mushrooms, but you want to let it cool down a bit. Yeah, I just touch it like a dummy. Let's go ahead and heat that back up. Alright, so let's go ahead and disturb the colony, get it down. So we're just going to break into it a bit like this, just so we can let some air into that. and our little enoki's will come up through this. Get rid of this piece, this is an extra piece. This is definitely a healthy colony and it smells super good. It smells like just fresh mushrooms. And we're gonna give it a fresh spray. My sprayer is a little doo-doo because it was just a reused sprayer. But it saves money. Hey, this is just a DIY kit. Just do it yourself at home and it's not anything fancy. And you're gonna spray it just like this 3 times a day, but you don't wanna overwater it. So you do not want water just sitting in there. So now that we just sprayed the mushroom kit, we're gonna leave it in a semi-lit area and see what happens in the next couple days. It's the same thing with our king oyster mushrooms. How these are gonna form, they're gonna grow inside this bag and they're gonna somewhat be trained to grow up, just like the enoki's. I pulled the bag down so I can get some water into it, but I left some extra space on the bag. That way it guides the enoki's to grow upwards. Because these are like little needle mushrooms, so they're really, really tiny. They almost look like really, really thin shoestring potato french fries. So we're going to grow the enoki mushroom and king oyster mushrooms. We had a lot of success with the golden oyster and a lot of success with the regular oyster mushroom. We will see what happens with these two in Florida. It is colder now, so these are colder fruiting mushrooms. They fruit better in the cold, but we'll see how they do. It is somewhat of a winter, quote unquote, in Florida. We don't really get cold weather here, but we do have some cold weather, so we'll see how these fruit. Oh, and I forgot to mention, guys, so these don't have to be stored in full sunlight. In fact, I discourage storing in full sunlight. Store them like maybe somewhere in your kitchen or in a corner where it doesn't have a ton of sunlight, but it gets some sunlight. So these are photosynthetic, so they do need to have some sort of sunlight to grow towards. So if you don't want them growing wild and crazy on the outside over here, put them in like a bucket that's spray painted on the bottom. That way they know to grow straight up. So we're a few days into it. You can kind of see these little guys pinning right there and right there. So that's basically after a few days of starting to water it. Here's the other ones. These guys are still sitting solid, not doing much. But sometimes they pin quicker than others, but we'll see what happens. This guy's on like his 4th flush. This is the oyster. This guy's already given like 7 or 8, so I don't know if he's going to produce again. Looks like there's something down in the hole, so maybe he will. We'll see. Alright, so this is the next day. You can see some of the pins are starting to come out. This one's starting to pin a little better. This one has no action. But just give it a couple days. Sometimes some have quicker action than others. But yeah, if you can see how some of these are a little bit dry, that means they weren't getting enough water, so keep that in mind and you can keep an eye on it. The grayish top, you see how it's kind of gray? That's good. That means it's healthy. This is for the regular oysters. Alright guys, so this is about 2 days in, 3 days in. They get a little bit bigger. But basically with this, if you could see how those dried up, I wasn't doing a good job watering them. But anyways, make sure you water them pretty well. This is the other one. This one's on its like 4th flush, so I'm not really expecting much out of it. Usually on the 1st and 2nd flush you'll get the most, and this one we're still waiting on it. And this one, dry. Alright guys, this is the next day and these guys are ready to pick. You can see how the gills are good and these guys are already starting to flip up, and well, that's how Bitcoin is like mushrooms. Exponential growth. This literally took like 4 days and boom, it exploded. This guy, he's still waiting to pin, but we'll see what happens. And this guy's like on his 8th flush. So that's how you guys grow mushrooms, and we'll go ahead and pick it just to show you how it goes. This one, it's still in there. The other one I already picked. Basically, if you see it, you kind of just go left to the right and you just pop it off. That's it. Super easy to do, and you got your mushrooms and you can go and eat them. Thanks for watching, guys.